What's good, y'all? It's Solution back at it with another mental gym video in which I give you guys mental exercises you can use to become extremely successful and accomplish all the goals that you are after. So let's get right into it. So today I want to talk about simplify or simplification. And the definition I came up with for simplify in the context of achieving your goals is making information easy, keyword here, easy to understand to help you achieve your goals. You see, guys, I am a big believer in living a very simple life. And I believe when you make things very simple, or you make your life very simple, it's easier for you to accomplish your goals. Because complexity does not mean better. When things are more complex, it doesn't mean better. Because when things are very complicated, they're usually harder to do. So if you want to make it easier to accomplish your goals, you should want to make things simpler, not harder, right? Good. So that's why I realized, like, okay, we need to have a process, or I need to create a mental exercise for simplifying specifically information and making it easy to understand so you can act upon it. If it's very easy for you to just do 2 plus 2 equals 4 rather than doing some long ass algebraic or calculus or pre-calculus like equation. It's easier for you to just do 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? So you should want to make all the information that you are acquiring the same. You should want to make it as easy as 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? And that's where I pretty much get into the mental exercise on how you're going to be able to do this so you can make it easier to accomplish your goals, which is why you're probably here. So the first part of this is obviously seek info. Because before we can start talking about, making things easier to understand, we need to have something to understand. We need to seek information. We need information. Because even if you have all the skills, character traits, or whatever necessary to accomplish a goal, and the beliefs to accomplish a goal, if you don't have the information on what you're supposed to be doing, it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, we are ignorant beings. It doesn't matter how capable you are. You need information in order to succeed. Especially as a really ambitious guy who wants to be successful, you need to have information. You need to have knowledge. You need to be in the know so you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So how do we make sure we are seeking info, or where do we seek information from? So one of the places that I've talked about many times on my channel that you can seek, or you should seek information from, is your value circle. And your value circle is made up of three types of people. So the first type of person, or not really first, there's no exact order, but one of the type of people is someone who's achieved what you want, right? And they value the same things as you. And you don't have maybe direct access to this person, but they give information out somewhere that you have access to. And you're aware of the fact that they've achieved what you want. Obviously, thank God, because of social media and the internet, you can find this information that someone who has achieved what you want releases somewhere. It could be on YouTube, it could be on podcasts, it could be on Google, on their website, wherever. You can go find this person if they're not actively in your life, like already, like you can physically go find them, right? And the second type of person who shows up in your value circle is someone who wants to achieve the same thing as you, and you can work with them, and they value the same stuff as you. To also say, when I say about value, I mean they care about the same things, or they have the same character trait values that you like to have. Like, you're an honest person, you have integrity, you don't want to do certain things, like, you know what I'm saying, you want to work hard, you're about growth. Like, they are similar to you, right? So the reason why this is nice is because if you have someone who wants to achieve the same thing as you, right, if they're going to have their own personal experiences on the same path as you, so they'll be able to give you info that could help you, right? So that's great, of course. And then the last but not least, and to me the best type of person you can have in your value circle, is someone who has achieved what you want, values the same stuff as you, and you can work with them. Because if you have this person, it is amazing, because the flow of information is very fast, right? It's like a literal master and student thing, which you guys have probably seen, like, in multiple situations, where if you have a direct teacher that you can talk to, call, whatever, it's easier to just get information or break beliefs or learn new things that you need to learn in order to achieve your goals. So those are kind of the three types of people, and having as many types of people in your value circle that are like this is obviously crucial, because the more information the better, because if you have more information and options to pull on, the higher the likelihood you'll be able to figure out whatever you need to figure out to achieve your goals. So yeah, so that's kind of where you can seek information from. It would be your value circle, right? Right? Your value circle. And then, of course, if not, you can always just go to like Google, YouTube, wherever, like as potential options. So like Google or like YouTube for whatever information you need, because you know what your goals are, right? So you know what your goals are, and you can go find information, and that's what you're going to be seeking information about. Of course, like you're not just going to be looking, you're not just going to be looking for random information. It's going to be based on your goals. So cool. You now know you need to have knowledge or information, right? But then we move into the very, very important step here, and basically the main point of simplification, right? And that is define terms. Define terms. So what I mean by define terms is when you receive information or when you receive knowledge about your goals or information that could be potentially helpful to you, you need to define it. You need to break it down. You need to break down what that information means. So initially when you receive information, it might be at that algebra, calculus, pre-calculus level. You need to break that information down to basic math. You need to go from Pythagorean theorem, like a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to 2 plus 2 equals 4. You need to go, like, in terms of understanding and comprehending the information. The reason why this is important is because it makes it easier for you to act on and apply information. There's no point in having information if you cannot apply it. There's no point in shit being complicated in your head if you cannot apply said information. You need to make things very easy for you to understand. Super, super easy, right? So when you're thinking through defining terms, right? I'll give you an example of this. Think of like when somebody says the statement of be yourself. So be yourself is a very loaded term. Super loaded. Very loaded. Like if I just tell you, oh, be yourself, bro. Like you're going to hear me say that and you're going to be like, oh, that makes sense. But does it? No. Because if I ask you, okay, be yourself. And then I'm like, okay, what are you going to do now? You're like, I'm going to be myself. You see what I'm saying? You don't understand it. You actually don't understand it. If you want to basically make things obvious. You want to make things very obvious. That's an important part of defining terms. You want to basically make things obvious. You want to make things very obvious for you to understand. You want to make it very obvious because it's easier to do. So going back to the example I was talking about, the be yourself thing. If I just told you be yourself, that's not obvious what you're supposed to do. It's not obvious. It is not obvious. You're just like, oh, it's a very loaded term, the yourself thing. You're like, okay, this could mean this could mean that. You don't know what to do. Whereas if I said, instead of be yourself, like if I said be yourself, the way you would want to break it down into your mind, or this is how basically I do it in my mind. I'm like, okay, they said be myself. So how can I break down be yourself into information that is actually useful for me, that is actionable? I can apply this. So if someone's like, you need to be yourself, I would then break it down into act like there's no consequences for what you want to do. Act like there's no consequences for how you want to act. Or let me say better yet, accept the consequences for how you want to act. You see how that is the same thing as be yourself. It's the same thing, but I've broken it down to basically from the pre-calculus or the calculus of be yourself to the basic math of accept the consequences of how you want to act. Accept the consequences of how you want to act. When you just break it down to that, you're like, okay, yeah, I could do that. Because you now know that when you want to commit a certain action, the only thing that is limiting you is a potential consequence. And if you just accept that consequence, you can act how you want to act. And by extension, you're being yourself, right? And this is why it's so important to make things sound obvious to you. You want to make it sound obvious. You get no brownie points from your goals by making them seem or sound complicated in your head, or understanding information at face value in a complicated way. You get no brownie points. It does not serve you. Nobody cares if you sound, even when you speak, nobody cares if you sound super articulate. Like if you sound, if the way you speak and the way you say words is really crazy or like sounds really complicated or really high level. If I could just speak in terms of kick ball, like I'm even trying to find ways to speak simpler. And I'm trying to find ways to define terms to you guys even easier. Because if I feel like I do that, you guys will understand better. The simpler I make these mental exercises, it will serve you guys better because it's more actionable. It's easier. That's why I just start with seek info, define terms. With the information you have, define it in a way that is obvious for you to understand. Make it very, very simple. It needs to be like 2 plus 2 is 4. Think about it. You have received an extreme amount of information throughout your life. But if everything you received in terms of information was broken down to a 2 plus 2 equals 4 level, you'd be a lot further along in terms of achieving your goals. But unfortunately, you're not, because there's a lot of things you have heard that you have not broken down to a level that is easy for you to understand yet. And if you want to move into that flow state, if you want to be able to operate quickly, almost off instinct, you need to make things very clear. Mental clarity is one of the most underrated aspects of goal achievement. Making things very, very obvious to you is super underrated. That's why I really try to make what I'm saying sound very obvious. Like it's very clear. Because I want that to be the path for you guys. I want your guys' path to look very clear. Obviously, there's uncertainty with success or whatever. But at the very least, make what you have to do very simple. Make it very simple, bro. Because that's where you can move off instinct and you don't have to spend so much time thinking. I'm not saying it's bad to think. I think it is bad to think inefficiently when it comes to achieving your goals. You become successful based off what you do, not how you think or what you were thinking necessarily. Meaning, and I mean like in terms of the action of thinking. You become successful based on what you were doing, if you were doing. That's how you become successful. So you want to make it as easy as possible to do. You do not want to waste time thinking. You do not become successful from having to think about complicated things. You become successful by taking complicated things, simplifying them, making them easy and clear to understand so you can just do. Because at the end of the day, you win by doing. You succeed by doing. You achieve your goals by doing. So yeah, make sure you are defining terms. And what I mean by defining terms, make them very obvious. Make them super obvious. Make it obvious. When someone tells you a word or tells you be yourself, if you feel uncomfortable with information, it means you have not defined terms enough. There's things that are not obvious to you. You want everything to be obvious. To the point when you speak about what you do, it sounds super obvious. Like that means you are able to break down the information enough that is super clear. You need to make everything sound clear. So it needs to be obvious. It needs to be obvious and clear. And by clear, I mean there's no discomfort. Like you don't feel uncomfortable when you're thinking about information. If you feel even that slight discomfort with what you're doing, I'm not saying in terms of uncertainty with acting on your goals. I mean, you feel uncomfortable about the information in terms of acting upon it, you need to simplify stuff. You need to make things more obvious. You need to break it down to kick ball, talk to person, drink water. You need to get it down to like a second grade level of information comprehension. I know it seems like I'm going really, really hard on this, but I'm telling you, it will make all the difference in the speed and efficiency you will have in your actions that will lead to your goals. I'm telling you, you want to make it obvious, you want to make it clear, meaning you do not feel uncomfortable. There's no discomfort, right? Meaning there's no discomfort. Everything just starts in your mind, sounds very obvious. You want to become a simplification bank. The world is a very complicated place, and as information hits your brain, you start breaking it down, all the way down to 2 plus 2 equals 4. I really, really hope what I'm saying here makes sense, right? because this is basically what I have used for so long to make it easier for me to act upon my goals, y'all. I really hope. That's why, please, please, please give me feedback on this video. Does this make sense? Is this really simple to understand what I just said? Do I need to go in deeper, or do I need to say less? Like, does this make sense? If you want to make it easier to achieve your goals, you want to make the information you need to use to achieve your goals very simple to understand in your head. It needs to be very clear. You seek out the information from people who are viable, people who are valuable because they have information that can serve your direct goal. And from there, you must define the terms. And by defining the terms is the information needs to sound obvious, it needs to be clear, and you should not be uncomfortable about thinking about it. If your mind is fried when you think about information, that's not a good thing. It means that it's too complicated. I'm telling you, it took me so long to realize this. If you feel uncomfortable when you're thinking about information, if somebody tells you be yourself and you don't know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, that's not good. That's not good. It means that the information is not useful for you. If I tell someone to be themselves and they don't immediately know what they're supposed to be doing, the information is too complicated. It's too complicated. Whenever you receive information, that is viable, obviously it's valuable, you need to make sure you process it into a point where you just know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Kind of like what I was talking about the be yourself example earlier. If I tell someone be themselves, and then they immediately, when it hits their brain cells, they're like, okay, that means accept the consequences of how I want to act. Accept them. So now they can directly go to the consequences or they can directly go to the perceived consequences, meaning the bad things that they think that will happen based on how they want to act. And they can learn to just accept those things because they value being themselves. They value acting the way they want to act, right? See, that's easier. They went from be yourself to doing what they need to be doing from there. Because in this middle part, they processed it down to an actionable step. They made the information very clear so they can now act upon it. I'm telling you guys, this makes an extreme difference. But yeah, that is basically my simplification mental exercise. So please like this video, boost it in the algorithm if you really feel like this can help other guys and this has helped you, because I want more guys to see this so they don't have to think that shit has to sound complicated in their heads and shit has to sound complicated when they talk about it. No, shit should sound very simple in your head. Shit should sound simple as 2 + 2 = 4. All the information in your head should be at like a second grade level of information comprehension. They should define all the terms, make everything obvious and clear so that they can do what they need to do. You can reach a flow state of life where you're almost acting based off instinct because all the information is so simple for you to understand. When it's in your head, you just do it, right? So yeah. So I guess with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next Mental Gym video. Peace.